Hello everyone! So first of all, happy Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving here in the United States and here in San Francisco. I just finished a lovely little lunch that I made, part of which came from Whole Foods, I'll be honest. But it's been a lovely morning. I went to Verve, one of my favorite coffee shops here this morning, did a reading session, now here we are for another video. Now, it's been about 3 weeks since my last video, and the reason for that is because I've been working extremely hard on the social journaling app that I've been building for all of us. So those of you who are patrons on Patreon, you'll have been seeing updates I've been posting over there. And I also just wrote my very first Medium article where I'm documenting the process. So I won't spend too much time today talking about that, but I just want you to know that it's going very, very well. I already have a functioning web application that works right now, but there's not really any design. And some features are missing, but the core functionality works. And I have been doing everything from, I created a user research document where I actually took data from my YouTube channel over the last 5 years, and I did the wireframing process, and you can see that all. Here's a discovery process that I did, which was all very interesting. I started wireframing the landing page, went through here, all very, very, very exciting. Ending up with sort of 2 different variations, then going into sort of like the dashboard. So all that to say, very, very exciting, and I've been working very hard on that. But today we're going to be talking about how to add a new language to your repertoire in a very low stress way for people who are busy, for people who either already have a lot of languages they're studying, or 2 or 3, the number doesn't matter. People who are already feeling sort of at capacity with language learning, or people who just have a very busy life. And to be honest, this is not just about adding a additional foreign language. This could also be perfectly valid for adding your very first foreign language. And so, as always, as you all know, I always try to use my own life and my own language learning experiences and journey to sort of portray the points that I make. And I do that because I do all my work now through the lenses of design. And so design principles, design thinking would dictate that we should always try to work with empathy. So the reason why I always do stuff where whenever I give you advice, I try to do it myself in my own life. It's because that way I have way more empathy for what all of you may or may not be going through when engaging in these sort of things. So this is my Mandarin Chinese notebook. So I mentioned this very briefly a couple of videos ago, but I have been learning Mandarin Chinese for a little while now. And I've deliberately been doing it in a way that matches my current lifestyle, my current schedule, my current situation. And I think this is a situation that many people have, which is that, well, first of all, I'm very busy. I have a full-time job where I work as a software engineer here in San Francisco. I have been writing a book, a second book. Many of you will know that I published my first book a few months ago. Here is a copy of it, and it's just, I'm so, even to this day, I cannot believe this is done. And I'm just gonna, like all this stuff, I can't believe it's done. So I'm writing my second book, which is gonna be a much shorter ebook. And I've been building this gigantic social journaling application. So very busy. I already have 8 languages. And so the point is, I have a lot of stuff. And so adding a new language for me at this moment is not easy. So I think it would be unwise for me to sort of dive in. Now, that's what I usually do. I am capable at this point in my life of learning. I honestly believe if I really wanted to, I could probably become conversational in Mandarin Chinese in just a few months. But I'm not in a hurry, right? I'm not in a rush. I think learning a language, just like anything else in life, doesn't always have to be let's do it as fast as humanly possible. Let's rush to the goal. At this point, I have learned so many languages. I speak 8 languages, but I've also learned others. I learned Dutch to quite a high level at one point. I was doing job interviews in Dutch. I was living in the Netherlands. I've also, at one point, spoken quite a bit of Hindi. I used to go to an Indian restaurant where I would actually speak Hindi with the people. Not much, but just, 3 or 4 minutes of chat, banter, joking around. I would order my food in Hindi. I at one point learned a fair amount of Russian. So I have been through this journey many times. And again, like many things in life, as you gain experience, as you get the chance to go through things several times, I think it becomes ever more clear that the journey really is most of the pleasure, right? It's, if not all the pleasure. Arriving at a destination can sometimes be deflating. And so there's a lot of people that sort of talk about this idea that you should play infinite games that never really finish, right? And that's why language learning is so beautiful, because you never reach the end, right? And so all that being said, I'm happy to just enjoy the slow and steady journey of learning Mandarin Chinese. And so what I've been doing is I have been applying an approach that I first used with Italian way back in 2014 when I was learning French after Japanese. This is really, that was a very exciting moment in my sort of polyglot career. And I was basically just using my walking time to learn Italian. So I was doing Pimsleur, I did some different audio courses, a bit of Michelle Thomas, whatever I could do. But I just basically told myself, whenever I'm walking, I'll do my Italian audio course. I'm not gonna rush, I'm not gonna spend tons of time on it. Whenever I'm walking, that's my Italian time. And it was great, it was great. It was a really pleasant way to just slowly but surely pick up the language. In this case, that was earlier on in my language learning career. I did not have anywhere near as much experience then. So I ended up picking Italian back up a couple of years later, about 1.5 years later. I did the same thing. I used my lunch breaks at work to do Babbel. And I would, while I was walking to work and back, I would do Italian then as well. And I became pretty darn fluent in Italian by just doing that. So what I've been doing is, you'll see here, I have these little, there's not a lot, there's not much here. I've been using Chinese Pod. And so this is like, lesson 1, a little bit of content here. So I can show you. And then you'll see like lesson 2. And so basically, that's kind of it. I've been, every morning before I go to work, I spend about 6 hours per day in addition to my job, working on the social journaling app for all of us, writing my second book, doing personal projects. And so every morning I have about 3 hours I spend at a coffee shop before my job begins. And so the first thing I do is I just do 15 minutes of Mandarin Chinese. I've gotten through 10 lessons. That's it. That's not a lot for me. I could do this in a single day if I was like wanting to learn Mandarin super fast in like 2 or 3 months to get to like a basic conversation, whatever. I could do this in a day, easy. But I'm not rushing. And so I think this is a really wonderful way to learn a new language for people who have busy lives, people who don't necessarily need to learn this language tomorrow. And I think it's actually a very healthy way to learn a language, but especially for polyglots or aspiring polyglots, people who have invested a lot of time in 2 or 3 languages, who knows, 4, 5, 6, doesn't matter. Once you get to that type of language capacity, adding a new language can be tough if you want to maintain. And of course, that's my sort of expertise. My whole book is all about how to maintain languages. It's a topic that I've been trying to sort of establish a authority or some kind of expertise in. And so if you want to keep maintaining your other languages, then learning a new language this way is great. I just spend 15 minutes per day sometimes 30 minutes, and I'll be honest, sometimes I miss a day. I've missed a few days. But even 15 minutes a day, it's enough. It is enough. I'm already acquiring quite a lot of Mandarin. It's been really fun. We have a lady at work who's from China. We have another person from Taiwan. And I get to say things like, oh, 好久不见, when I see them. And they're like, oh, long time no see, you know. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I'm learning Chinese grammar. I'm learning all kinds of stuff. So I have no doubt that taking this approach, 15 minutes per day, 30 minutes maximum, occasionally nothing, I have no doubt that in 3 months from now, I'll have a pretty decent little basis in Mandarin Chinese. In 6 months from now, if I keep the same strategy, I believe I'll have a pretty strong basis in Mandarin Chinese that then at that point, I could continue this slow and steady path, or then I could take the plunge, right? Because at any moment, you can choose to take the plunge. It doesn't have to be today, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, it doesn't have to be in 6 months. At any point, whenever you feel ready, you can take the plunge and dive in. But you don't have to feel like you can't begin until you're ready to take the plunge. No. This approach is very low stress, low commitment, and if for some reason you decide that you don't like this language, you want to try a different language, whatever, you haven't invested too much time either. So again, very low stress approach to adding a new language. And in my next video, I'll be talking about the core principles that can help you succeed with this type of approach. Thank you.